Okay. Well, with the launch of Fresh Paint DC, this brings murals back to CAH. We have reestablished a program to fund muralists within the district to paint murals also within DC. So this is very exciting. Throughout the presentation, there are some pictures from our past murals that we funded that you might have seen around town. So the goals of Fresh Paint DC are to encourage appreciation for our local artists and humanities community by being able to fund artists again to do these murals in the district and to create art projects that are by DC-based muralists. This is an opportunity just for DC-based artists and to be able to showcase their talent, for DC and in DC and to strengthen the district's community within this mural design by having any sort of like diversity and place-based identities in the design, and then to provide educational opportunities and share culture and history within the stories that are told in the murals and where they're placed in DC. This is a great one over on H Street in the Allery by Shawnee Shee. So the eligibility for this program, this is, as I mentioned, only for DC-based artists, which means that if you're an individual artist and you do live in DC, you're eligible to apply. If you are an artist that lives outside of DC, you would have to team up with a DC-based artist, and that artist would be the applicant for the program. And so we are eligible for artist teams if you've moved outside of DC and want to team up with someone who's still in DC to apply for this. But this is not open to organizations or anyone that has like the EIN or LLC. This is just for individual artists. So let's explain more in this slide. Artist teams are defined as two artists working together in this instance. This is another past mural. It's in Blagden Alley by Michelle Love. So the stages of Fresh Paint DC, we're in the first stage where interested applicants are submitting their applications through the grant portal. After our deadline on Monday, every submitted application will be reviewed for its eligibility. And if it is determined eligible, it will then be advanced to our review panel. The review panels help decide the finalists. Once those finalists are approved and notified, they are then matched with a wall site. And from there, they would work with the property owner and the community to develop a design for that mural that then gets approved by CH and other stakeholders. And then the third stage is the installation of that mural. And this is all done within our fiscal year. So by the end of September 30th is the end of the last stage. This is the general schedule for Fresh Paint DC, so you're aware as you're applying. The deadline is, of course, in February 23rd, Monday at 9 p.m. Let me admit some more people, so we're waiting. And then in March is when the selection panel will convene. By April, applicants that are approved finalists are notified and sites are matched. And then in May, you work on your design. And then from June to September, you would have those months to install the mural. This is another famous one outside of Bohemian Caverns. So the grant application process, if you're a first time applicant, this is helpful information. And also this is the relaunch of a newer program. So we want people to just know what our process is. First, you would make sure that you've read the RFA fully and that you match the eligibility for the program. If that is the case, then you would go ahead and make your application in submittable. This is really important. CH is working with a new grant application portal, Submittable. So just want to make sure that you're at the right, looking for the application in the right place. Then you would go through and complete the application, which we have steps in the next couple slides on what that entails. Submit within our deadline, before our deadline, at 9 p.m. Submittable does close down automatically right at 9. So you want to make sure that we're not waiting until the absolute last moment. It's possible your application won't go through. And once you do submit, you will get a confirmation from Submittable, just that the application made it. So you can find the link to Submittable and more information about Fresh Paint on our website, CH's website. Some tips for preparing the application. This is really, really important because this is an RFA, a request for applications. We're not asking for proposals on the murals yet. We're just asking for your past demonstration of your past mural experience. So your work samples are really, really, really important for this application. And you want to make sure that they're quality photos that show the murals that you've done in the best light, best angle. You want to make sure that they're just really demonstrating your strongest artistic skill and your expression, your point of view, your style as a muralist. And if you're submitting work that you've helped or collaborated with others on, you just want to highlight exactly like which sections or what your involvement was in that mural. Make sure everything is just demonstrating, your best skill. And if you do have additional support materials, that you upload those to, but make sure that your work samples are, the best of the best. And then anything else that you might want to include would be considered a support material. So now to just walk you through Submittable. This is the landing page when you get to Submittable, CH's new grant portal. You would scroll down and see the opportunity listed, fiscal year 26, Fresh Paint DC, CH's mural program, and click apply. Once you've clicked apply, this prompts you to either sign in or sign up for Submittable. So if you've already used Submittable for any other application or platform, then you already have a account. So you would sign in. If you've never used it before, you want to sign up. Then it brings you to the application. What's a little bit different with Submittable than our past grant portal system is that the application is all on one page, kind of like a Google form style, like you're scrolling down. So if you're just creating a draft, which, hopefully you already have one, you're already working on one right now, you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to save, instead of being prompted as you go with our past system. So it's just something to remember. You don't want to lose your work in progress. So the overview section is the first section. This is where you input the project name. That is the name of the program, FY26 Fresh Paint DC CH Mural Program, whether you're applying as a team or an individual. If you are applying as a team, you select team, it will then prompt you to put in your team member's name, and select project support and fill in the dates. The dates that you should fill in are below here in gray. Those are the dates of our fiscal year. So while the project begin and end date, are slightly different, we do operate on the general fiscal year. Next would be your request details. This is a chance for you to express, your point of view as an artist in the artist statement, what your approach to mural making is, and what your experience, general experience has been with large scale exterior mural work. That's the most relevant, what we're looking for in these applications. Then is your work sample statement. This is different than your artist statement. This work impact statement, sorry, is specifically asking, what is your motivation essentially to do murals in Washington, D.C.? And how does your practice contribute to the local mural landscape? This is CH, and we're funding district artists. So I want the panelists to know just what your dedication to DC is as a muralist. Then this section is just asking for the applicant profiles and details. So that's your name, your address, your ward, other things. This is very important if you are representing a team in your application. The submitter and the applicant profile must be the same person. So the DC resident, that person that is submitting on behalf of the team, it's their information here that we want to see and also in the compliance documents. Your team member is only listed as a personnel. Then we bring to your work samples. So above your work samples is the work sample statement. This is a general statements, describing the forthcoming work samples. So just like these are the samples of my latest murals or my most popular or my first, whatever you're submitting, you want to have a brief statement describing how these content of those works samples best represent the application. That's very important. Um, so that the panelists, when they're reviewing, just have a general sense of being able to contextualize the work samples that you're submitting. Panelists are only reviewing within the corners of the application. So if it's not explained here and there's something important you want someone to know about the project that you're using as a work sample, I'm going to put it in your work sample statement. Then you would upload the work sample and fill in the image identification table. This is where you would list if you were the artist, if you were the lead artist, and if you weren't, what your role on the project was. The title, the date, the medium, the size is very important, and the budget of these previous projects. That helps panelists determine your capacity for taking on another mural project. So you really want to make sure that all of these fields are filled in and all the information that someone would need to know about that work sample, about that project, are included in the image identification table. And so if you are an individual, you can submit up to 5 work samples. If you're representing a team, it's up to 10. If it's a team, you want to make sure that you're either submitting a good amount of samples for both members of the team, or if you've worked previously together, those projects would be the best to submit as work samples. Then the upload section is where you would put your artist's resume and CV. You can list your professional references here all together, and then the support material. So that is, maybe someone has written about a mural that you did, how the community responded. Um, maybe someone has written up just about you in general, or if you get a letter of recommendation, anything else that is not a required upload, but that you think would be really beneficial to your application, you can upload as a support material. So that way the panelists can still review it. Next is the compliance documents. These are just basic required documents for all CAH applications. We are a district agency, so these are the compliance documents that are required to receive funds from CAH. So you would have your W-9 signed. This is very important. Make sure it's signed and dated, and we want it to be the March 2024 version. If you aren't sure if that's the right version that you have, if you follow the link in the application, it will take you to a page on CH's website where you can find either access to these documents or fillable versions of these documents. So we need your clean hands as well, dated within 30 days of the application deadline, a quote for an insurance policy or a past COI. You don't have to purchase a policy to apply just yet. We just want to see that you sort of have done a little bit of research and understand what a insurance policy may cost, and then grantees are required to have insurance. Statement of certification and artist copyright form. Just make sure again that you filled in all the little boxes on each form and that everything is signed and dated. And then you would reach the very end of the application page and either save your draft if you have time to go back to it, or apply. Just a reminder that the deadline is on Monday and it's Friday now. So this is sort of the last opportunity, except Monday during the day to ask me questions or to hear back from me. So if you have any of those questions now, I really encourage it. Because I won't see it over the weekend, and then the deadline is on Monday. So just so you know, these next few slides will show the review criteria. I think it's important for applicants to understand what the panelists will use to score and grade your application, and that may inform, how you fill out the application and what work you decide to use. So 40% of your score comes from the artistic content. This is judged on your work samples, your artist statement, your resume, and your CV, and any of the additional support materials. So this is coming from judging your past experience, what was the quality of that, just your artistic aesthetic, and does it match the project goals? Next is community engagement and impact. Public art is all about community and place. And so we want to see a history of community engagement within your practice as a muralist. Next is capacity. So this is determined by your previous work samples. That's why it's really important to include the budget and the size of the wall, because that compared to what we have potentially for this year is how the panelists will be able to know that if you can take on a project of a certain budget and a wall, of a certain size. And then the opportunity and equity. Does your work as a muralist create opportunity and equity either within the community that you're working with, or do you hire artists? Do you work with a diverse community? Is that represented in your work samples, in your artist statement, everything in your practice as an artist? This is another one of our really beloved murals for the Crown Act outside of Busboys and Poets in Anacostia, Candace Taylor. Okay, so that kind of wraps up the presentation portion. So I just want to stop sharing my screen, return to the meeting, and just answer any questions that people may have either about the program or the application. You can either type it in the chat or
Question.
yes.
Okay. How you doing? How's everyone? Excuse me. I have excuse me. My name is Roderick Turner. And how you doing, Deidre?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had a
Good.
question on the certificate of certificate of certificate of statement.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to get the name properly. Anyway, on
Yeah,
that, on
that's
it
all
had
right.
something about OMB, um, circular, circulars
Hmm.
for the certificate of what is it? Certificate of certification, I think. Um,
Yes.
yeah, just have yeah, statement of certification,
Mm-hmm.
and it has something on there. OMB. I didn't. It wasn't clear with that.
Let me look at it now. Really, the statement of certification,
Mhm.
you are just filling in your name and your address in the grant program, and then you read through, what sort of you're signing up for as an applicant, and should you be awarded, and then at the very end, you would sign and then put
I
in.
understand all that.
I'm not sure if I see a section
The
for,
question. Wait a minute. Let me give it. Maybe I can give you the number.
mhm. Because I'm just looking at the form, so I don't see what you're asking, but
Okay. What I'm asking is
I can share the form on my screen too, so you can see and
18.
just if you want to point out.
I think it's on if the applicants comply with. Oh, it's question 15. Application complies and will continue to comply if the applicant is awarded the grant with all applicable federal and district regulations such as OMB circular. I don't know what that is.
Mm, okay. That's an acronym for Office of something. I don't actually know for sure off the top of my head. And that just sort of applies to, I think, like the allowable costs and like how you can
Okay.
use the grant funding.
Yes.
But it might be worth just, looking, s- copying that phrase and looking up what the acronym means because I'm not entirely, I can't remember.
Okay. That's all right. Okay. Then I have one more other question was um when I went to the sublight, uh
Submittable.
oh yeah, submittable. Yeah, I'm just recalling, I'm not re
Yeah.
yeah, submittable. Um on there for what do you call it, support materials,
Hmm.
it only let me upload one. And when I
Oh,
tried to,
okay.
it said you can do two, but I was like, when I put the first one in, that would say that was it. Not
Okay.
just, I'm talking about not the where the support materials, not my work samples, but the support material.
Hmm.
So I just had a question. So that was kind of, I don't know what's going on there because I had two more samples on the support items I wanted to include it, but I was unable to do that.
Okay. I can, and so have you started a draft yet then? Let me see if
Yeah.
I can find it. Okay.
Mhm. And
Um,
then,
what what it might be, what might recommend is putting maybe those documents into one PDF, like merging them into one PDF if it's only allowing you to upload one document. I think, but I will
okay,
double check.
yeah, I have to figure out how to do that
Okay.
because it's virtual, and for me to do it, it's hard. I got to do hard copy. I'll figure it out. Okay,
Okay. And I will I'll look at the submittable and I can, send you an email after this meeting,
okay. And
just to
then
let you know.
last question. I missed the earlier part. Sorry about. I had trouble logging on. And then the other thing, I've been a muralist since the '80s. Okay, I just say,
Hmm.
all right. Um, Now, the work samples say they don't want any works older than 5 years. Now, I have my recent, I have works, but they go back a little further than that. But uh, according to certain sources, they say I'm instrumental in starting murals in DC. So to continue in that movement. So what I'm saying is that's why I can only give you what I have currently. Would
That's
that
okay. Yeah, no, I would support that statement as well. I think that, in the work sample statement, um, you can say, my submissions are older than 5 years, but I'm showing, just my history of work in DC.
okay? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and also, this is a side note outside of this, but I have some work on Etsy. If you get a chance to check it out.
Oh, on ours. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I've been awarded some certificates, about four of them.
Okay.
I'm putting it out there because of the commission. So
Yeah, no, no. I appreciate the update.
yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome, Roderick. And
Okay.
are there any other questions? I see someone had to jump off, but they're happy to see DC Mural program back. I'm glad that people are excited.
Hey, Deirdre, do you know
Oh
the
yeah,
real
hey,
color the source was yet? Do you know the sound of everything?
I didn't quite hear that. Sorry.
Have you chose locations already?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have, a potential list. The sites were not determined before the RFA was released, so they're not in the RFA. But we are working with, I think it's listed here, with the downtown bid, H Street, Main Street, and Uptown Main Streets to identify sites. So those are going to be the three areas that the walls are in. And this year, the overall budget, I think will get us maybe about like four or five walls in total. So, and they'll be in varying sizes, but at this point, those are the neighborhoods that we'll be able to bring murals to. So downtown DC, like Gallery Place area, H Street, Main Street also operates the Minnesota Avenue Main Street. So we're looking off of Minnesota Avenue for walls, and then Uptown George Avenue, essentially.
Thank
So they're spread out.
DJ, how you doing? This is Marcel.
Hi, how are you?
Jump in there. Yep, sorry I'm late. Um, I did hear a little bit about the year cutoff in terms of examples, and I'm sorry, I probably missed part of the presentation of that. Um, Now, is there like a strict cutoff in terms of uh like what the gentleman was speaking, the examples that we provide and examples of previous murals? And I know you probably already went over that, but um, just to say, like, let's say our examples are older than, I think you said 5 years or whatever. Is that going to be I guess, a problem in terms of submitting those sort of examples?
No, I wouldn't say it's a problem or, it's not something that would disqualify an application. It's sort of more of like a recommendation to show your most recent work.
Hmm.
Just because that, is usually helpful for people to just see, where you are and like what's your style right now. And, maybe if it helps to show some older work and then some more recent work, if you've had like an evolution in your practice or you've changed things a little bit. So I can understand wanting to sort of like mix it up, but that's mostly a recommendation because like most recent gives people the best sort of idea of your
Hmm.
abilities and your current, style, subject matter, those kinds of things. Um, but it wouldn't disqualify an application. And I think if you're going to use mostly older samples, you want to make sure that that's explained in your work sample statement so that the panelists don't just think, oh, they've not painted in a
Hmm.
while. And instead it's, just your reasoning for including those samples.
Understood. Mm, makes sense.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions or want me to go back through anything in the slideshow?
Um, Excuse me. Okay. Another question.
Mhm.
Um, the heights of the wall. You mentioned about possible five sites. Um, do you have any idea, like how many stories they are, or is it way up in the, elevated, you know, high
Um,
rise or something, on the side of a high rise? I'm just wondering.
yeah, not probably not this year for a side of a high rise. Because we want to, be sort of equitable and be able to get as many as possible. So nothing like too huge. I can't give an exact measurement just
Right.
yet, but I'd say that I'm probably within our budget, nothing taller than like 20 feet. And it, depending on the selected artist and their design,
Yes,
the size of the wall and what design you come up with, sort of up to you, how to utilize that, the height of the wall.
yes,
But we're not looking this year for anything, that would be a huge high rise. We want to be able to sort of spread the wealth around the first time,
right.
and then maybe be able to move up to something that big. So like wouldn't imagine too much equipment needed, except a boom or a lift or something like that.
So the question is, I'm saying, so it's more like ground level then. These would be more ground level murals?
They would be ground level, probably like alley walls or sides of
Yes,
buildings in
okay,
that way.
yes.
Hmm.
And would it be preferred to paint, would these murals be preferred to be painted on directly on the wall, or would they want to be installed, like on panel?
Yeah, probably on the wall this time.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, well, I mean, if there are no other questions, I may wrap up our session. Thank you for joining in and for, your interest in this program. I'm really happy to be able to provide this opportunity again for local muralists. It is the first year, so it will be, sort of a smaller cohort, and hopefully as the cycles go on, we can grow more and more, and we're really excited to be working with, neighborhoods throughout the district. And so I hope everyone applies or at least shares the opportunity. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, on Monday during the day before the deadline. So, yep. Thanks, Cleek and Ashley, and thanks everyone.
Thank you,
You're
and I
welcome.
appreciate the commission finally